Okay, guys, this is the third video on Marcus Garvey. Um, Yesterday we talked about, on the last video, we talked about his activism, how he started out in activism, and his progression in his thoughts as far as Africans and blacks in general, whether they were from Africa or not, particularly the blacks in the Caribbean where he was in Jamaica. Um, I'll go back over the last thing we talked about in the last video. Um, he had a conversation with a missionary from a black missionary from the Caribbean, and he came away envisioning a movement that would politically unify black people of African descent across the world. And that leads us to the UNIA. Marcus Garvey ended up moving back to Jamaica in 1914. And almost immediately, within the same month, he founded the United Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. The initials, obviously, the United Negro Improvement Association, it's the UNIA. And some people did call it the UNIA-ACL, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to call it the UNIA. The UNIA declared its commitment to, let me find it, sorry. It declared its commitment to establish a brotherhood among the black race, to promote a spirit of race pride, to reclaim the fallen, and to assist in civilizing the backward tribes of Africa. Now, clearly there is some arrogance in that statement, particularly calling the tribes of Africa backward. But all in all, his intent was positive, even though he did rub people the wrong way. A lot of people didn't even like the fact that he used the word Negro in the title of the United Negro Improvement Association. People saw that as a negative word. That's again, that's not how he meant it. But as we're going to talk about more and more, Marcus Garvey had a bad habit of rubbing people the wrong way, and a lot of times it did not serve him well. Let's talk about a speech he gave in 1915, talking about the UNIA. Again, this will kind of give you an idea of how he was thinking as far as blacks. To the cultured mind, the bulk of our people are contemptible. Our people being black people. Go into the country, talking about Jamaica, go into the country, I'm sorry, I guess I just read. Go into the country parts of Jamaica, and you will see there villainy and vice of the worst kind, immorality, and all kinds of dirty things. Kingston and its environments, are so infested with the uncouth and vulgar of our people that we of a cultured class feel positively ashamed to move about. Well, this society, the UNIA, has set itself the task to go among the people and raise them to the standard of civilized approval. Now, that speech made a lot of people mad, obviously, calling people uncouth and vulgar and talking about their villainy and vice, their immorality, dirty thing, and all types of dirty things. He was really, really arrogant. He considered himself a civilized person. Again, we are reminding you all in the first video we talked about how he was a middle-class black person. And he really clung to that. He really clung to himself being cultured and refined. He took speech classes and elocution lessons, and he tried very hard to present himself very cultured. Later on, they talk about the UNIA having elocution contests and him coming away winning the first prize. Surprise, surprise. But he was very good at elocuting. He was very good at speaking. But unfortunately, at the very least appeared he looked down on blacks who did not have good speech, who did grow up poor, who didn't have the best upbringing, who acted a certain way. And obviously people aren't going to care for that. Obviously, Garvey ended up being the first president of the UNIA. One thing about this that I want to point out is when he started promoting the UNIA, the UNIA actually embraced Britain as the colonizing power over Jamaica. Now, if you remember, this is a twist from the organizations he was in when he was developing his activism, because he was very much against colonization. I don't know what caused the switch, but it does bear mentioning. When he was looking for donors, he attracted a lot of white elite donors, which is, you got to wonder when you have a Black Improvement Association and white people in the early 1900s were supporting it, particularly the mayor of Kingston and the governor of Jamaica, people who were appointed to promote British interests in Jamaica. White people who were appointed to promote British interests in Jamaica. They were monetarily supporting the United Negro Improvement Association. You've got to ask the question why, because clearly Britain's interests in Jamaica were counter to Black people's interests in Jamaica, as the Black people were not doing well. White people were doing very well when they had dealings with Jamaica, Black people not so much. And Marcus Garvey didn't seem to be, I don't know if he didn't seem to be aware of it anymore, or if it just wasn't, he didn't support it anymore. I don't know why. I don't know why. He does flip back pretty harshly, actually, later on. We'll talk about that. Again, Blacks were hostile to him. They felt like him getting donations from these white elites and not so much trying to go after or not trying to draw support from middle-class Blacks, but trying to draw support from white elites was counter to what the UNIA was supposed to be about, which was creating unity among Blacks. Later on, a year or two later, his support declined, in some part because Blacks weren't interested in being a part of this organization because they didn't see it as a Black organization anymore, and in some ways because he was accused of misappropriating funds, of spending money from the organization on personal items. Now, these are unsubstantiated rumors. They never came to anything, so there was never any evidence he did this. However, as we know, when rumors get out there, they're very damaging, and he was, and the organization suffered as a result. He got frustrated with the UNIA in Jamaica. Says here in his Wikipedia article, he became increasingly aware of how UNIA had failed to thrive in Jamaica. Partially because of him, partially because of those allegations, but it just didn't work out the way he envisioned it working out as a unifying organization for Blacks. So in that, he decided to go take the UNIA to the United States. So in 1916, in March of 1916, he went to the United States and he established the UNIA there. That's where this video ends. I wanted to end with the UNIA and UNIA's brief history in Jamaica. And we'll talk in the next video about how he established it in America and what the results were. All right, that's it. Love you guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.